Anyway, all right, so we have our jalapeno. Now, the hotter you want your salsa, the more jalapeno you want to put in it, right? First, we want to cut off the ends, because we really don't want those in our salsa. Now, cut it right down the middle, and you'll see that there's a bunch of seeds in it. The seeds also retain heat, according to a lot of chefs. New studies are saying that they don't really make any difference, but if you're not wanting hot salsa, just take the seeds out. You cut out the core like so. I'm a little nervous. I haven't really made a cooking video before, so bear with me. But we want to take this stuff out. Now, one thing about adding peppers, you cannot take peppers out, but you can always add more. It's like you can't subtract, but you can add. So you want to add too little to start with. That works that way for a lot of things, by the way. Like if you want to add sugar, if you want to add garlic, whatever, always add a little bit to start. Taste it and see if you need more. So now we have halves. The recipe calls for half of a jalapeno. I start with a quarter and see how warm it is. And two, the thing about peppers is the older they are, the hotter they're going to be. So if you left it in the fridge for a little bit, it's going to be hotter. And this one actually has been in the fridge for a bit, so I'm going to cut it again and start with this piece right here. So now, as you can see, I have all my ingredients ready to go. The lime juice and the spices are measured out, which is a really good thing to do because a lot of times in cooking you have to add a certain thing at a certain time. If you have all your spices together like this, you can just dump them all in together and not have to worry about measuring it out when it's time to add it. So, you can see our cilantro is washed and clean and has been laid out to dry. You always want to wash vegetables when you use them. Now, I'm going to make this in a food processor. I would not recommend making it in a blender. I actually tried that and it turned it into slush. So, if you don't have a food processor for this recipe, I recommend waiting until you do and then making it. Once you have a food processor, it's super easy. You can also pick up food processors fairly cheap. You don't have to get a really nice one. So, check Walmart, check Amazon, wherever you shop, and see if you can find a cheap one. It'll make salsa just as good as an expensive one will. You might just have to leave it on a little longer. But this recipe is super easy to make. Watch, this is all it takes. Here's our plum tomatoes. As my daughter Jade said, ew, when I told her it took whole tomatoes. And I said, well, what do you think they make it out of in a restaurant? Come on. It's going to have the same stuff. She's like, oh, well, okay. Here's our tomato sauce, which gives it that wonderful base. And our handful of cilantro. We just want to put the whole thing in there. Oh, yeah. And like I said before, make sure it's clean, make sure there's no mold on the leaves anywhere, no brown wilty spots, no black spots, and you're good to go. And of course, wash it. Here's our jalapeno. A few more pieces of cilantro. Lemon juice. And spices. Sugar, garlic, salt, onion powder. Because I'm allergic to onions and I can't have the enzymes in a fresh onion, but I can have powder because they're dehydrated. So I make mine with onion powder. You could always use real onions instead if you wanted to. I tell you, this makes it a lot easier and it's just as tasty. Alright, so now put the lid on, lock it, and turn it on. Once you're sure that all of the big chunks are gone, go ahead and stop it. And sometimes the plum tomatoes have a big chunk left in there, so I will take a fork through it check it and make sure there aren't any chunks in it. Because you don't want to serve salsa to friends and have a big chunk of tomato in it anywhere. But this has turned out really good. Now, on day 1, it's going to have kind of a raw taste to it. That's normal. Put it in the fridge, and by about day 3, it'll be as good as any restaurant salsa you've ever had. It does need time to marinate. It's good right now. In fact, I'm going to have some. But if you really want that restaurant flavor, wait about 3 days. And it'll keep in the fridge for about 2 weeks. Here you go. Here you go. Tasty and ready to eat.